You guys are, if you're like most of the men that I work with, you're very good at doing things for your wife. For your wife. The dog's barking in the background, sorry. And doing that, of course. But if she were here, what she would want, in addition to you doing things for her, is doing things with her. There's doing things for her, then there's doing things with her. And so I put something in the notes there if you can see it. If you don't see it, when we get off the call, it'll be right there in plain view. It's in the chat side panel over there. Ways to be with her. I'm not necessarily going to go through that today. You can just read it at your leisure. So, and generally speaking, most husbands on the autism spectrum show their love by doing things for their NT wife. And that gets full credit as far as I'm concerned. It may not get as much credit with her, because even though she may appreciate that, she probably doesn't voice it much. And what she would prefer would be for you to do things with her. So I have daily touch, be curious, side with your partner, express gratitude, sleep naked, relive a memory, create new memories, listen to her, share a laugh, expressions of loving kindness, flirt, turn off the electronics. So that's just a super short list to expose you to some ideas of what it might look like to be with her. And you can borrow some of those ideas, you can reject them all, come up with your own, but I just wanted to belabor the point that sometimes the most functional thing you can do with her is to just be near her in give and take in conversation with no distractions. And that, if we want to be honest, for the most of you, you would find that exceedingly boring. I'm just going to be in the same room with her, sit on the couch and just engage in some idle chit chat with no phone, no TV. Okay, I know that some of you might say that's very boring, and I'm not sure how long I can do that. So I'm not saying, hour. 15 to 20 minutes would be very meaningful to her, even if it was just once or twice a week. So you have grossly underestimated how much that would be appreciated by your NT wife. That's what she would call quality time, where we're just together talking about whatever, not necessarily talking about problems, no. And where you're fully present, listening, and responding to what she has to say. I cannot overemphasize the importance of that. You probably have super low self-esteem. And so whenever she's offering some constructive criticism or full-blown criticism or even something that might even be neutral and not even remotely critical, since your self-esteem, but most of the time, if not all the time, the guy's self-esteem is so low and they've been on the receiving end of disapproval for so long, even from childhood, that anything that sounds parental or corrective or chastising or blaming, etc., is a huge trigger, and they get defensive because it bruised their self-esteem again. Having said that, when she's trying to make a point, it would be best to do the APV business. I want to actively listen, which means I want to stop what I'm doing, look in her direction and nod. I want to paraphrase back periodically what she said to check for accuracy. And I want to validate that that's her opinion on the matter. And then, and only then, I'm going to ask, would you be interested in an alternative point of view? So active listening, paraphrase, validation, which is simply saying, I hear you and I understand what you're saying. And then after the fact, after those three, you ask, Luke, would you be interested in my point of view on the matter? So the summary is this, and this is your mission. This is a challenge, a personal challenge. I'm going to listen to understand rather than to mount a defense. I'm not necessarily going to agree with her. I'm not necessarily going to like her opinion, but that's not my goal. My goal is a new day, I'm trying to change. My new goal is to listen, to understand, even though it's going to ding my self-esteem, perhaps.
Yeah.
Listen to understand rather than to mount a defense. That's those first three pieces: active listening, paraphrase, validation. And then we have, but you're not a potted plant over there with no opinion about anything. So you're going to ask, would you be interested in my point of view on the thing that you brought up? And so hopefully she would say yes. And so then you don't necessarily get into explaining. I think explaining is risky because she's going to think that your explaining is simply making excuses.
I've heard that criticism before. It's
so instead of getting into a long diatribe of explanation or trying to make you sound right or make her sound wrong, I would simply keep your opinion on the matter short and sweet. Short and sweet, as in a few sentences. Active listen, paraphrase, validate. Would you be interested in my point of view? Sure. 2 or 3 sentences.
okay.
About your opinion on the matter. No lectures, no explaining. Yeah.
Yep.
Apologies. If you're like most of the other guys that I work with, your apologies are worthless and are making a bad problem worse.
Yep.
And she views your apologies as nothing short of bullshit. And it's back to the
My
same
apologies
thing.
are followed with explanations.
Yeah, so when you explain, she's going to download that as you're just making excuses, you're being dismissive. When you apologize, she's going to view that as, you're just trying to sugarcoat, you're just trying to let wanting this thing to just blow over, and then you'll go right back to doing the same shit again. So no more apologies and no more explaining. So what you do instead of the apology, the script, okay, it wasn't my intention to hurt you. I see it hurt anyway. Is there anything I can do to help? That's your script, Luke. No more apologizing. Apologies are worth. Now, if your wife, for those of you in here where your wife still appreciates an apology, then you keep doing that. But in Luke's case, and in most other cases, apology is just bullshit to her. But action speaks louder than words. So now we have 4 things. It wasn't my intention to hurt you, but I see it hurt you anyway. Is there anything I can do to help? And then 4th, and most importantly, whatever suggestion she has, you got to implement on that thing.
Yeah.
If she goes, well, yeah, here's what you could do, then by God, you better do it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that strategy is going to be just as piss poor as an I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It would be better to do none of those 4 things than to attempt to do it, but then not follow through with what she says when you ask, is there anything I can do to help? When he apologizes, it's bullshit. When he explains, it's bullshit. And when he says, is there anything I can do to help, he doesn't follow through, just more bullshit. Hey, this is Mark Hutten. Would you like to schedule a one-on-one Zoom call? Okay, it's so simple. Just look under any of my videos in the description area. Click on this Calendly link. Now you see my calendar. Pick your month, your day, anytime that's available. Enter your name and email address. Then you'll get a follow-up email with the Zoom link on the day and time that you picked. And voila, we will talk.